Today on Rappler, Metro Manila grinds to a halt as relentless rain batters the region, forcing more provinces under a state of calamity. Monsoon rains affect more than 600,000 people. And the Senate backtracks. It now wants to investigate the pork barrel scam. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. It was Bedlam Tuesday, August 20th in Metro Manila as a region of 12 million people ground to a halt with relentless rain and floods immobilizing commuters, forcing evacuations, and shutting down schools, offices, and airports. Bea Kupin reports.
Metro Manila is at a standstill. The southwest monsoon and tropical storm Maring causes 3 days of non-stop rains and widespread flooding. The high tide makes it worse. The Metro Manila Development Authority tells motorists to stay indoors. Major junctures like EDSA Magallanes, EDSA Taft, and parts of C5 could not be passed by all types of vehicles. Project Noah Head Mohar Lagmay says this monsoon rainfall is unprecedented in the country's history, a view echoed by the palace spokesman.
We saw an equivalent of 1 month of rainfall in 1 day. So the environmental situation is also getting worse, no?
MMDA Flood Control Information Center Chief Ramon Santiago says Taft Avenue, Sucat Parañaque, España, and Sampaloc are also problematic. Floodwaters in parts of España Boulevard in Manila are almost knee-deep. 5 areas in Manila are forcibly evacuated. Las Piñas, with close to 7,000 evacuees, is isolated from the rest of the metro. Las Piñas City Councilor Mark Santos says the situation is under control, but says evacuated families are already going back to their homes. Those living in danger zones are told not to push their luck.
So yung mga nasa mga delikadong lugar, sana naman makinig po kayo dahil taon-taon na meron tayong mga ganitong pangyayari, lagi na lang kayo pinapaalalahanan.
Interior Secretary Mar Rojas promises to mobilize all government resources.
Siguraduhin natin na buong pwersa ng pamahalaan ay maparating natin sa pagliligtas ng ating mga kababayan.
A state of calamity is declared in Parañaque, Pateros, Taguig, and Muntinlupa, where 7,500 families were affected by the flood. In Makati, floodwaters rose to as high as 3 feet in some barangays, prompting the evacuation of at least 711 families from 7 barangays. The major thoroughfares Zapote and Tramo in Las Piñas remain flooded. At least 7,000 residents were brought to evacuation centers due to roads that had become impassable. Families in 10 barangays in Pasig also had to flee their homes. By afternoon, at least 40,000 Metro Manila residents were affected by the flooding. The MMDA confirms 50% of Metro Manila was flooded Tuesday. All work virtually stopped, and airlines canceled all domestic flights departing from Manila because roads leading to the area were flooded. Bea Kupin, Rappler, Manila.
Residents of Marikina City are forced to evacuate as water level in Marikina River breaches the 18-meter mark. Paterno Esmaquiel reports.
It's almost 6 at night and the Marikina River continues to rise. But some Marikina residents refuse to leave their houses despite monsoon rain that floods Metro Manila again. Annabel Butualia doesn't take any chances. She brings her family, including her sick 2-year-old child, to the evacuation center.
Natatakot kami baka pag inabot ng gabi, baka umano ng second floor. Nadala na kami nung nirescue kami nung habagat.
Scene is different in a house in Provident Village. Dindin Reyes says his family won't evacuate. They say their house has a second floor anyway.
Nandun na yung takot pero mahirap din naman sa evacuation center. Kasi iba yung sanay ka nung nasa sarili kang pamamahay kaysa mapupunta ka doon sa evacuation. Na dito naman, sigad ng bahala kung ano mangyayari sa amin. Hindi naman kami nag-iisang mamamatay o matatrap sa itaas ng bahay.
Like Bitualia, over 21,900 persons evacuate in Marikina City. We're among 600,000 persons affected by Tropical Storm Maring and the monsoon rain since Sunday. Right behind us is the Tumana River. This is connected to the Marikina River, which was about to overflow this morning. Now, to our right is a depressed community. This community began to evacuate its residents last Sunday. They experienced the worst of floods during Tropical Storm Ondoy in 2009, and they're afraid of a similar disaster happening again. Now, to our left is a pretty rich community. This is where we find the La Vista and Loyola Grand Villa subdivisions. They also experienced the brunt of Tropical Storm Ondoy in 2009, with some of their houses flooded. Some learned their lessons, but some clearly have not. Paterno es Rappler, Manila.
Here are the latest weather updates as the southwest monsoon batters Luzon. In Laguna, Governor E.R. Ejercito declares the entire province under a state of calamity. This means calamity funds can easily be accessed and released, and prices of basic goods can be controlled. In a phone interview with Rappler, Ejercito says the first district of Laguna is hardest hit. The area composed of San Pedro, Bilaan City, and Santa Rosa City is the catch basin of the mountainous neighboring areas of Tagaytay and Cavite. In Pampanga, Governor Lilia Pineda tells residents to evacuate as dikes across the province are at risk of overflowing. Authorities earlier evacuated residents of Minalin as water overflowed at the Santa Rita section of the Minalin Tail Dike. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office puts the agricultural and infrastructure damage at 23 million pesos. In Bulacan, all 11 barangays in the coastal town of Obando are submerged in 3 to 4 feet of floodwater worsened by the high tide. 15 coastal villages in Hagonoy are under 1 to 2 feet of water, while Kalumpit has 11 villages under 2 to 3 feet of water. In Rizal, the municipalities of San Mateo and Taytay join the list of places under a state of calamity as 2,800 people living near the San Mateo River are evacuated. Cainta Mayor Kit Nieto says 80% of his municipality is already underwater. And in Bataan, more than 56,000 families in 143 villages are affected as rains pummel the province, which is now under a state of calamity. At least 969 families seek shelter in the province's 47 evacuation centers. The town of Dinalupihan bears most of the storm's brunt, with at least 30 of its barangays underwater. A portion of the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway, or SCTEX, collapses after non-stop rain damages parts of the Pasig-Potrero Bridge. The section of SCTEX from Clark South going to Porac, Pampanga is shut down. The Bases Conversion Development Authority says damage to the bridge was caused by non-stop rain that brought, quote, strong currents along the Pasig-Potrero River. The North Luzon Expressway says motorists coming from Mabalacat and Tarlac can exit through Clark South and re-enter Porac Toll Plaza. More than 600,000 people are now affected by the combined effects of Tropical Storm Maring, international name Trami, and the southwest monsoon. On Tuesday, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council reports 8 people dead, 41 injured, and 4 missing. Torrential rain batters Manila and nearby provinces, shutting down schools and government offices for the second straight day. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says expect rain to continue over Luzon and Visayas as the tropical storm maintains its strength as it moves towards Taiwan. The storm's expected to be out of the Philippine area of responsibility by late Wednesday or early Thursday. The Department of Social and Welfare Development is calling out for volunteers to help with the repacking of relief goods for typhoon victims. Social Welfare Secretary Dinky Soliman says the department has 50,000 food packs ready for delivery. There are 199 evacuation centers open nationwide, serving more than 9,000 families. Rappler's civic engagement arm Move.ph maps evacuation centers and compiles relief efforts to help the victims. If you're organizing a relief drive or accepting relief donations, let us know by tweeting us at Move.ph at MovePH or by using the hashtag ReliefPH. Stormy days and floods can be life-threatening for Filipinos, but for a group of dedicated rescuers, this is a time to save lives. David Lozada reports.
Eugene Bocco leads his team in search and rescue operations in Cavite. They go house to house, helping evacuate residents near the riverbank. They are not members of the military or any government institution. They are members of the Tagasagip Buhay Foundation, a volunteer group for disaster response. A former disaster officer in Mindanao, Eugene says saving lives is his passion.
Kasi common na, kahit sasabihin natin masarap makatulong, pero wala tayong magawa, yun talaga yung call natin.
Every time there's a disaster, Eugene and his team run to affected areas. This time, they're helping the local government of Rosario, Cavite. Typhoon Maring put Cavite in a state of calamity. Here in Rosario, 300 families have been evacuated from 8 barangays. Philippine Army Colonel Medardo Clarito says the 8 barangays were hard hit, but the worst may not be over.
Kasi baka bigla na naman bumaha, lalo na ngayon papunta na ng high tide. So nagtulong tayo, nag-assist tayo sa pagkandak ng force evacuation.
Clarito commends Eugene and his group of volunteers. He says they embody the Filipino spirit.
Isang magandang katangian natin na Pilipino na pagdating sa mga ganitong kalamidad, kahit saan ka man galing, ano ka man, sama-sama tayo na nagtutulong sa mga nangangailangan.
Eugene and his team say as long as the calamities happen, they will be there.
Especially yung mga tao, syempre, yung mga katulad sa atin, individual, na maging aware tayo, wag lang natin iasa sa government yung responsibilidad ng pagiging safety at resilient natin.
For Eugene and his crew, it's all in a day's work. David Lozada, Rappler, Cavite.
The death toll from the Cebu Ferry collision rises to 64, while the missing stands at 56. On Friday, the St. Thomas Aquinas ferry collided with cargo vessel MV Sulpicio Express 7 near Cebu. The ferry carried 870 passengers and sank quickly after colliding with the freighter. The captains of both vessels blame each other for the collision. Captain Reynan Bermejo of the St. Thomas Aquinas ferry says the cargo vessel was on the same inbound lane as it approached the port. Efforts to alert the approaching cargo vessel failed, with the Aquinas getting hit on its right side. Captain Rolito Guilo of the MV Sulpicio Express 7 says the Aquinas initially maintained its course, then suddenly turned right, causing the collision. A formal investigation will be conducted by the Special Maritime Board of Inquiry. Days after the release of an audit report on lawmakers' pork barrel, the Senate reverses an earlier decision and decides to investigate the pork barrel scam. The Senate earlier made a unanimous decision not to probe the scam involving the alleged misuse of lawmakers' funds, pending the full investigation of the Justice Department and the National Bureau of Investigation. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chair T.G. Gangona says the chamber decided to conduct a formal probe, adding the release of the Commission on Audit report gives the committee sufficient basis to proceed. The report found at least 6.1 billion pesos worth of lawmakers' funds were released to dubious non-governmental organizations. In a statement, Gangona says, quote, "The preliminary findings by the DOJ and the NBI can serve as basis for the Blue Ribbon Committee's probe." The first hearing will be held August 29th at 9 a.m. COA Commissioner Grace Pulido Tan is expected to testify. The NBI continues its hunt for Janet Lim Napoles, the alleged mastermind behind the multi-million peso scam. President Benigno Aquino holds the release of pork barrel to lawmakers until the probe on the multi-million scam is over. In an interview with GMA on Monday, Aquino says he wants the National Bureau of Investigation to finish its probe first to, quote, check if there are loopholes that can still be closed. The NBI is investigating a scheme that allegedly involved lawmakers misusing or pocketing their pork barrel. On Friday, state auditors released a report showing how lawmakers disregarded rules to allocate excessive funds to their projects. The report also shows significant amounts of lawmakers' funds going to questionable non-government organizations. Aquino rejects calls to abolish the pork barrel, saying he's open to reforming the process and punishing those who misuse the funds. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, orders Filipinos to leave Egypt as it upgrades its crisis alert status to level 4. The DFA says the Philippine government will shoulder the costs of the mandatory repatriation. The department says the, quote, ongoing political instability and grave security challenges endangers the estimated 6,000 Filipinos who live there. On Monday, militants killed 25 policemen as Egypt continues to struggle with violent protests sparked by the ouster of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. The DFA advises Filipinos in Egypt to contact the Philippine Embassy in Cairo as soon as possible so they can be repatriated. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 4, the Supreme Guide of the Muslim Brotherhood, Mohammed Badi, is arrested in Cairo. The arrest comes as authorities crack down on the Brotherhood, sparking deadly protests and international condemnation. The Muslim Brotherhood is the party of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Its senior members are wanted for questioning and accused of inciting events that led to the deaths of protesters. At number 6, the British government forces The Guardian to destroy its files or face the courts for publishing U.S. security secrets leaked by Edward Snowden. On Tuesday, editor Alan Rusbridger says, a quote, says, very senior government official contacted him demanding the return or destruction of the files. The paper was in the middle of publishing revelations about mass surveillance programs conducted by the U.S. National Security Agency and its British counterpart, the GCHQ. And at number 7, Australian ministers will join regional talks about people smuggling in a bid to tackle an issue that looms large in the upcoming polls. Less than 3 weeks before elections, Foreign Minister Bob Carr and Immigration Minister Tony Burke will meet officials from 13 other countries in Jakarta, Indonesia. These come after Kevin Rudd's Labour Party unveiled a new policy last month that would send asylum seekers arriving by boat to Papua New Guinea for processing and resettlement, even if they're genuine refugees. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Prince William and his wife Catherine released the first official photographs of their baby son George. The photos show newborn Prince George wrapped in a white blanket, lying peacefully in his mother's arms. The pictures were shot earlier this month in the Middletons' family home in rural Bucklebury, west of London. In a break with tradition, the photos were taken by Catherine's father, Michael Middleton, instead of professional photographers. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page that crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers the most emotionally. If you take a look, these 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meters. This is interesting. Today, of course, we have really roughly 3 stories. You've got the pork barrel. Aquino rejects abolition of pork barrel again. That's 85% angry. Pork for the president. This is a story published today. Maritas Vitug's thought leaders. And again, you still have Bong JP, Ijingoy, Suki Tinapolis, NGOs. These stories, possible error in audit report, smacking red, very red. And then you've got just 2 greens. Pinoy puts release of pork on hold until the probe ends. Just that is making people happy at the same time. 19% angry. So you can see the red today. Most people are angry. Well, that is Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, August 20th, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.